Dive into the late time at noon on Fox Sports Las Vegas.
We drafted some really good hockey players, and the organization over the last 2 days. These are two of the more important days of the year, maybe the most important days of the year for any of the NHL teams, and I was really pleased that we were able to come away with the players that we did.
And that is the voice of Golden Knights General Manager Kelly McCrimmon following yesterday's second day of the NHL draft, rounds 2 through 7, and the Golden Knights ended up with 6 players in the draft yesterday. They went into it with 5 picks, ended up with 6. Of course, they traded up to get a goaltender in that 4th round. But Dave Gosher along with Gary Lawless to my left. Thank you for tuning in on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, and also, of course, on Fox Sports Las Vegas. We've got an entertaining hour to say the least. Todd Pollock, who is the general manager here at Rock Creek Cattle Company, also the vice president of ticketing for the Golden Knights. I'm not sure how he's able to hold both of these roles, but we're going to try and find out. We're going to chat with Todd here in a little while, Gary, and just get his sense of what makes this place so special, and also delve in a little bit to what the future might look like if the NHL can get back to playing games and get fans in the building. And also Assistant Director of Player Personnel Bobby Lowe's is going to join us as well. So we've got a couple of good guests coming up. Golden Knights, what do you make of what they did yesterday in the draft and overall over the last couple of days?
Well, spoke to Bobby a little bit after the draft and wanted to understand, why they traded up to get into the 4th round. And, he kind of explained to me that they didn't think the player they got in the 3rd round was going to be available. So when they got there, their plan was, to trade down actually, and to back into the 4th, and because they had their eye on Jesper Vikman, didn't think that they needed to spend a 3rd on him, so they thought they might trade down. Then they got to their selection in the 3rd, and help me out, Dave. What's the young man's
3rd
name?
round, they had Lucas Cormier.
Yeah, sorry.
68th.
Yeah, and then
the next pick, of course, Jackson Hallam.
That's the pick. When they got to their 2nd pick in the 3rd round, they didn't think that Jackson would be there, and when he was, they're like, we got to grab him then. And then they're like, okay, we can't trade back into the 4th because we've already got that special player that we didn't think was going to be there. So now let's make a deal. And they, had multiple 4ths in 2022, I think it was, where that pick came from. So they were able to make that, help Montreal out because they had a lot of picks in the 4th round this year, and kind of allow them to sort things out a little easier. So they made that trade, and Bobby Lowe's, I believe it was Bobby, said that pulled our whole draft together. Like being able to make that deal, sort of took their draft from a good one to a very good one. And I think it'll be really interesting to pay attention to Jackson and see what kind of a player he is. He plays at a small school in Minnesota, kind of under the radar.
St. Thomas Academy.
Keith Hendrickson, who is the Golden Knights scout in Minnesota, lives, he knows that state very well. And he came upon this kid last year. And St. Thomas Academy, they went to the state tournament. They weren't supposed to make the state tournament. They went to the state tournament, and he really went on a roll, put the team on his shoulders, and got them, I believe, to the semifinals. Along the way, they beat Andover, which is, if you know anything about Minnesota high school hockey, is a dominant school. They knocked them off a lot of this. And so Hendrickson said, maybe I'm missing something here, because this kid is really good. And they had a bunch of scouts go look at him. He was not the only guy that had eyes on this player. They had scouts from other parts that the Golden Knights and most teams, they have scouts in regions where, they're broken up, and they'll have a scout here, they'll have a scout there, and you do that region, and then when you get into a situation where a scout is like, I think this guy is really good, no one else is really on him, maybe we should get some other eyes on him. So they flew in other scouts to look at them, and they were pleasantly surprised with what they saw. And lo and behold, there he was at pick 91, and they were able to get him and then trade up, grab a pick from Montreal to get Jesper Vikman in the fourth.
So of course, the picks yesterday, Lucas Cormier goes in the third round at 68. Jackson Hallam, who Gary was talking about, goes with that 91st pick. They trade up to get goaltender Jesper Vikman with their fifth-round pick. The Golden Knights did not have a pick initially in the fourth or fifth rounds, but they traded to get that pick yesterday to take Vikman with that. And then later on, Maxim Marushev, I think. I'm rolling the dice, but I think I said that correctly. Maxim Marushev gets picked as well. So that was the last pick, 7th round pick, 215 overall.
Yeah, so Bobby Lowe's will have seen all of these players, if not live, certainly on video, and will be able to give us a real good breakdown on. And I'm sure he's seen them all live through either an under-18 tournament or wherever they. Wherever possible. So we'll get a real good breakdown from him on each player. But also, I'm really fascinated on the process process, Dave. Which you like better?
It's up to you. You're from
Yes,
Canada.
I'm
You
from
say
Canada.
process. I
Yes.
say process.
Dave makes fun of Shane and I when we say process. So I'm interested in how it all came together because I do know that they got to the table yesterday. On Tuesday night and yesterday, and felt really good. And I think the draft went really well for them. They were prepared. They got players that they wanted, and in some cases, players that they didn't think they could get because of where they were slotted to pick. And that's when you go to a draft, if you go in there and every guy that you want is gone when you get there, you feel like this didn't work, didn't go very well. When you sit down and you break the draft up into layers. So when you know that you're picking 29th in the first round, you have a layer of players that you think will be available there, and you want to get as high into that layer as possible. And he said that we were high into our layer, into the layer that we thought we would get at that time. We were high into it when we were able to make our pick every time, and that made the draft. As he said, that really brought the draft together for us. Getting Jackson in the third with the third pick, and then being able to add the pick for Vikman, that brought it all together and took it from an average draft, I believe, to a really good one.
And, of course, they also took Brendan Brisson with their first-round pick, right? So back on Tuesday night, 29th overall. So we'll get, as Gary said, a good breakdown of these draft picks that the Golden Knights selected 6 players over the last couple of days. And as we said too, Gary, just the crucial nature of getting quality players the deeper you go into the draft. Jamie Benn, a 5th-round pick. Joe Pavelski, a 7th-round pick. Mark Stone, a 6th-round pick. When they were drafted, it was late in the draft or later in the draft. Certainly, not highly touted. And, you're talking about some of the upper echelon players in the NHL that you can, turns out, maybe these players slip through the cracks. Whatever the reason is, you can still get good players as the draft goes along.
Absolutely. And in the hockey world, the clock moves on. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern, I believe, free agency begins, and unrestricted free agency. So I left our cabin this morning. Dave and Shane were snoring. I left at around 7:15 and came down to the breakfast hall. And when I got here, I was the only one here. And a few minutes later, Kelly McCrimmon came in, and we didn't sit together. We didn't have breakfast together. He had work to do. He was busy right at that time. Obviously, at 7:15 here is 9:15 in the East, so he'd probably been up for a number of hours. I would imagine he probably was up at 4:30 this morning. Most GMs kind of get going around 6:30 a.m. And when you're dealing with teams in the East, you've got to be on the same clock as them. So he would have been up early and working early, and he's got some stuff to do. He's over the cap by a pretty good margin right now, no more than 10%. But he's got a bunch of players. He's got a bunch of unrestricted free agents that he still has to sign. They put out some qualifying offers yesterday, but they've got some work to do in terms of having 50 contracts right now. I think they're at 1, 2, 3. I think they're around 40 contracts. They were at 37 going into the draft, so they've got to get about 10 more players signed, and you need a full roster in the NHL. And obviously, there's all the talk about potentially trading Marc-Andre Fleury or coming to a happy accommodation with him. And I was having a conversation with one of our staff members late last night, and at the end of the day, the best result still is being able to have Marc-Andre Fleury feel good about playing for the Vegas Golden Knights and staying here, and having two of the best goalies in the NHL. $12 million is a lot to that position. But if it doesn't have to be forever. If this year is really going to be condensed, January to July, well, maybe it is the year to have that much money loaded up into two goalies.
Let me ask you this, and I'm with you. Look, I have always hoped that part could be worked out, because if it's not the best tandem in the league, it's certainly right in the top
there.
2 or
Yeah.
3. Does it make it easier or more difficult that now you look today, there are a lot of goalies
I'll give you the list
that are out there. What do you got?
Holtby, Crawford, Markstrom, Smith, Anderson, that is Craig Anderson, Dell, Greist, Lundqvist, Hudobin, Howard, Talbot, Miller, Deming, Hutchinson, Corey Schneider was bought out today. He's available. And Kincaid. That's
a lot.
Well, so how many of them are starters? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If 5 of them are legit number ones, there's some guys that, Craig Anderson probably tell you that he can still win a whole bunch of games in the NHL. So it's an interesting list. I think in some ways it makes it easier to trade Marc-Andre Fleury if that's what you want to do today before free agency opens, because if you're Vancouver, for instance, they're struggling to get something done with Markstrom. Yeah. Well, a Fleury deal is gonna we keep hearing there's gonna be some salary retained, or there's gonna be a third club involved to take some salary on. If you're the end guy and you can get Marc-Andre Fleury for $4 million, that's better than going out and having to pay top of the market for Holtby, Crawford,
right.
Markstrom, that Hudobin, that caliber of goalie. He's right in the mix with all those goalies. I think Markstrom is maybe the one kind of, if I had to pick a number one in that whole group, it's probably Markstrom for me.
Yeah.
So, it could afford a team an opportunity to get an elite goalie, a number one, at a pretty good price for a couple of years.
Yeah. Well, a lot to all the goalies that are out there. Also, other news that Tyler Seguin may not be ready to start whatever next season begins. Torn hip labrum. Arizona Coyotes general manager Bill Armstrong confirming Taylor Hall will not re-sign with Arizona. He'll be on the move. So Rick Bowness officially will stay as head coach of the Dallas Stars. So a lot going on in the NHL. Busy time of year. The draft now in the rearview mirror. Unrestricted free agency beginning tomorrow in this crazy world that we're living in with a flat cap for the foreseeable future. Our coverage from Rock Creek Cattle Company brought to you by Ahern Rentals, with over 54,000 pieces of rental equipment available nationwide. Ahern Rentals is ready to support your next project in construction, industrial, landscaping, and more. Ahern Rentals, Vegas-born since 1953. Our coverage from Rock Creek continues. The general manager of Rock Creek Cattle Company and the vice president of Golden Knights ticketing, Todd Pollock, joins us in a moment on Fox Sports Las Vegas.
bright light city, gonna set my soul on fire. I got a whole lot of money that's ready to burn, so get those stakes up higher. There's 1,000 pretty women waiting down there. They're all living, the devil may care. Well, I'm just a devil with a lot to spare. So viva Las Vegas, viva Las Vegas. Oh, I wish that.
Golden Knight fans, it's your boy Lil Jon. Yeah, viva Las Vegas. Viva Las Vegas! Viva Las Vegas!
Little John, ho, ho, ho. You know what would make this song so Vegas?
What's that, Wayne?
Hit it.
Las Vegas! Yeah! Yeah!
As we continue our coverage here from beautiful Rock Creek Cattle Company in Deer Lodge, Montana, our fourth day of shows. One more to come tomorrow when unrestricted free agency begins in the NHL. Dave Gosher along with Gary Lawless, and we are joined by the general manager. Artificial seltzer.com. I'm in the same boat with you, Todd. I like the.
I think
the
we've
Truly.
tried all 13.
Yeah,
yesterday.
Yeah, well, it could be. But you look well for a man that had 13 of them yesterday. Todd Pollock joining us, general manager of Rock Creek Company, and also vice president of ticketing for the Vegas Golden Knights. Todd, thanks so much. First off, speaking for myself and for Shane, we had never been here before. Yep. Gary had been on previous occasions, and all we've heard in our time with the Golden Knights is just what a fantastic property this is in Rock Creek Cattle Company. You run the place. What makes it so special in your mind?
Yeah, I mean it's a place for all of the family. It's a golf course, top 100 in the world, but we've got shooting, which a lot of you guys have participated in, fishing, fly fishing, rafting. The weather's beautiful, the scenery's beautiful, so big sky country at its finest.
Gary and I each went 1 for 30 in the shooting the other day. That's impressive.
That's pretty good for lawman.
Yeah, but
first time we never had a gun.
Never had a gun in my. Shane Knighty, who grew up hunting,
yeah,
was picking him off left and right.
Shane
but us two.
Shane hit 4 of his first 6. His first 2 right out of the basket, and then 4 out of the first 6.
We'll have to have you guys back then to improve that 1 for 30 mark.
We won't argue with that.
Yeah, we went fly fishing yesterday.
Yep.
Gary and I caught nothing.
Yeah.
Shane caught 3,
a big one, I heard.
Yeah, Shane caught a beautiful rainbow trout. Yeah. It broke water. It jumped during while he was trying to reel it in. It was interesting after. And this is kind of what these places are. They're about memories. we got back to the cabin, and Shane sent the picture of the fish to his father, and then sat there and text messaged with his father back in Manitoba about catching the fish. His dad wanted to know all about it. You can make memories here.
It's special, and that's what we say. We turn moments into memories.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, we do. Absolutely.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Did you come up with that slogan?
Absolutely not.
Is that on the T-shirt somewhere or a bumper sticker?
Just on no, we actually do business cards for our staff to pass it out occasionally. So that's kind of our mantra here, and that's the goal throughout the season.
So we know that you are not one of the best VP of ticketing in the National Hockey League. What you have done in Las Vegas with the Vegas
Dave's
Golden
not
Knights.
so sure.
Oh, I didn't know you.
No, it's no problem. Next time you ask me for some tickets,
I didn't know you were looking in my
We'll set them
direction.
up. We have some standing room only. spots
Unprecedented,
for the Goshers.
and you've sustained it. So that's it. That's a full-time job and a half.
Yep. Yeah.
And Mr. Foley, Bill Foley, says, Todd, I need some help up at Rock Creek, and you take this challenge on as well.
Yeah, it's been awesome. It shows. I think we've got a great team. You guys all know our staff down in Vegas, our line mates as we call them. Great support from them and our fans. I mean, the interest in the team is still extremely high. But you put a good team together in the business offices, like we've been fortunate enough to do, and lots of long days of emails and video calls and so on. But they're holding down the fort fine without me, and they're doing well.
If the season, if Gary Bettman says we're starting on Jan 1,
Yep.
and if, through having people in the building won't be your decision or Gary Bettman's decision. No. It'll be a collaborative effort, and it will obviously health authorities and state authorities will be very involved in that. If everything aligns and they say you can have this many people in the building, are you ready to go?
Yeah, and that's a good question. One of our priorities with everything happening in the world is figuring out what that looks like. So we've worked with some partners through our ticketing platform. We're going to figure out exactly what that capacity is, and we have technology implemented that will allow us to socially distance and make sure we have safety protocols in place. And to your point, Gary, it's going to be contingent on the health officials, and obviously we'll follow it. We had great success doing opening the Fortress during the playoffs, selling some of our suites on game nights, so that was a good foundation for us and proved that we could put it on in a small capacity. But we'll see what things look like in January.
What's the challenge been like, Todd? We're joined by Todd Pollock, General Manager of Rock Creek Cattle Company and also Vice President of Ticketing with the Golden Knights. Look, you haven't had a game in the Fortress with fans incredibly since early March. I think March 3rd.
Yep.
Last game against New Jersey, last home game. What sorts of challenges has that presented for you and the staff? With you bang that building out every night, and now obviously that hasn't been able to happen.
Yeah, and it's tough. I mean, our fans, as you guys know, like they love being in that building. They miss it more than anything, and unique in this situation is we just don't know, and that's tough when you're a customer, or in this case a member of ours, and they just want to know what's going on, and they've been unbelievably patient. But I know when the time comes, they're chomping at the bit to get back. I know our whole team, the staff is, you guys are, I am. When that time comes again in a safe manner, we'll be back at it, and that place will be rocking again.
This atmosphere here at Rock Creek, and we touched on it. It is seasonal, right? So you've been up here since May.
May, yeah, about 5 months now.
And you're leaving beginning early next week.
Next week, yeah, barring any snowstorms that come to town. Yeah.
And then so take me through it. So it's kind of May to mid-October, and then what's after that up here at Rock Creek? Right?
Yeah, so we do a New Year's celebration with our members. We've got a handful that live here year-round, but it slows down. The weather starts to scale back. Even next week, we're in the 20s and 30s. So being a golf destination first, it's all weather permitting. So May, hopefully, we'll be able to open next year. We had 8 inches of snow in the middle of June this summer, so you just absolutely never know what's going to come. But we've had a phenomenal, weather, and you guys have been here with it. It's been 75. You can't beat it right now.
What's it like for a kid from New England?
Yeah.
To come out here and really, what do they used to call Montana? The last best place, I think, is what it was once referred to. Sage Salmons gave me that one, so he's a Montana native.
Native of Cutbank.
What's it like for you to really discover it?
It's great. I mean, I grew up on the water, so just even the lakes here, just being around them, the ponds, the lakes, the fishing, it's awesome. I wish I had a little more time to enjoy. I think you guys have done more activities in 3 days than I've done in 5 months. But it is awesome, and honestly, just the big sky country, the mountains, just being able to be here, and obviously nobody really loves the weather in Vegas when it's 115, myself included. So it's a good break for me, and yeah, loving it right now too.
It is amazing, Todd, and to your point, look, you're from New England, I'm from New England, and still able to get back and spend a little time by the ocean, but the draw of the mountains and the draw of Big Sky Country, even in Vegas, I never knew until I moved to Vegas 3 years ago about Red Rock and how the natural beauty of the mountains there. And then you come out here, and the night sky here, it's like you're looking you can see like the whole galaxy. It's unbelievable, the vastness and how wide open it is.
Yeah, you get that, and then you get the elk on the horizon too, and some of those shots, and the deer and all the wildlife, and it's spectacular. It really is unbelievable. And we don't get sunsets here, Sage knows this, until almost 10 o'clock at night during July and August. So it's spectacular. The days are long, and it's beautiful.
Well, Todd, thanks so much. We've had just a fantastic time. We have one day to go, but your hospitality, this place is just off the charts. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming.
If you could just do one thing for me,
Okay.
just arrange for a fish to bite Dave's hook, secure it in its lip, and then allow it to get into the net.
We can make that moment happen for Dave. And
Yeah,
it'll
you
be a
need-
memory
what
for
is
him
it?
for a
Turn
lifetime.
moments into memories?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that
right.
I jotted that down.
So, Dave, check your fridge tonight. There might be we'll put a fish in there just in
maybe
case,
a
just to
night-
give you
A
some.
bottle of scotch in the cabinet would be better than a
Well,
fish
we
in
already
the freezer.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, we are going
both.
fishing. We're going to try it again
Yep.
later today.
Yep.
So there's a second chance for both of us
we'll
because
we'll
we didn't
stock
do anything.
we'll stock the lake just for Dave.
Okay, that would be great. You got a
Yeah.
couple of hours to
Absolutely.
get at it. All right, Todd, thanks so
Thank
much.
you guys. Appreciate it.
Todd Pollock joining us, General Manager, Rock Creek Cattle Company, as we continue our coverage here from Deer Lodge, Montana. When we come back, the Assistant Director of Player Personnel for the Golden Knights, Bobby Lowe's, joins us in a moment on Fox Sports Las Vegas.
Well, I think it's going to be gold. Yeah, and I expect just the best. That's what I expect.
I've heard rumors about gold. That's my prediction. It's going to be golden jersey.
Oh, we see a letter.
Ooh, cool box, eh?
That's nice.
It is gold, eh?
That is sick. I expected that.
Wow, I'm surprised how like gold it is, you know?
This one is so sick. Always advance, never retreat. Bill Foley.
I was hesitant on how like they can make this gold, but they did a good job.
They did a great job.
This is also the name of the new captain. Here we go, Captain Carlson.
Is that for me?
Yeah. By the way, I'm not the captain. All right. Now we got a pair of sick kicks.
Ooh.
That's gold.
Those are sick shoes, though.
So I'm gonna just put these on, I guess.
Ooh.
I'm still waiting for my gold hat.
There we go. I hope it fits.
There we go. That's my gold hat.
This is Jonathan Marceau, and this is So Vegas.
I'm William Carlson, and this is So Vegas. Maybe we can get some.
William Carlson looking for his second shorthanded goal in as many nights. And Sean score! What a goal! Through his own legs! And, of course, this week we are live from Rock Creek Cattle Company in Big Sky Country, Deer Lodge, Montana. Dave Gosher along with Gary Lawless today, and we are joined by the Assistant Director of Player Personnel for the Golden Knights, Bobby Lowe's, and he's brought to you by Gold Bar, award-winning whiskey with an iconic design. Gold Bar whiskey is the official celebration cocktail of the Vegas Golden Knights. Learn more at goldbarwhiskey.com. Bobby, thanks so much for joining us. All right, the draft all said and done. What do you make of how you guys were able to accomplish what you wanted to accomplish over the last couple of days?
Well, we were pretty excited, I think, with how with the results. I think that you go into a draft and you never know how it's going to unfold, and with a lot of work done and a lot of preparation, and you just try to work your plan, and hopefully you can get the guys at certain areas that you have kind of listed there to take in certain rounds. And I think we did a really good job of managing the grid and getting some assets for the team. I
think the third round for me is when things kind of really got interesting. Obviously, you got a fantastic player in the first round, and Brendan Brisson is going to play in the NHL, and how high the ceiling is, I think, remains to be seen. And a real good pick again in the second round. But the third round, you have 2 picks, and you use one on Lucas Cormier, and then tell us what's happening after you select Lucas Cormier. What is the discussion at the draft table?
Well, the discussion is when you have another pick in that round and we didn't have a 4th or a 5th, is there somebody there that we want to take that's in a certain layer on our list? Or if that layer's kind of, there's nobody in that layer, then we could try to move back and get some guys in, and maybe get 2 other picks.
So maybe flip that 3rd for a 4th and a 5th.
Yes.
That's kind of the thinking.
Yeah.
And then what gets you to fall off that thinking?
Well, if you got a player you like.
Yeah.
So, or if you think, you try not to outsmart yourself and say, well, geez, I think this kid will go in the 4th round. We can move back and get him. Well, I've been, at drafts before when you do that, and all of a sudden the player gets picked, eh? So I learned a long time ago, and George and Kelly are the same mindset, and learned it from Brian Murray. If you like the guy, just take him.
Yeah.
So that's why you set your list up the way it is and have certain layers on it, and certain guys targeted in certain rounds, and then that you're happy to take in those rounds, and then hopefully you can get the guys that you want.
So Jackson Hallam is the guy that you took at 91. If he had been picked at 75 or 81, would you have then said, let's move back?
We might have had a couple other guys in that layer as well.
So if those guys were gone, then potentially you would have said, let's move back. So why Jackson Hallam? Tell us what you can about I'm imagining Keith Hendrickson was the first person that put eyes on him.
Well, we bugged Hendy all year that he was his dad. So that's how much he liked him.
Oh, he liked him a lot.
Oh, well, he interviewed the kid, and I don't know, they had a relationship where the kid would text him and ask him how he played and wanted to know what Hendy thought of him, his game and that, and they had a real good relationship. But the interesting thing was he was in a lot of these mock drafts and everything like that. He wasn't involved in that, and we were happy with that. Like we liked him.
Did you go see him?
Yeah. Seen him a few times.
So Keith sees him once or twice and then phones you and says, there's something about the guy. Who else saw him?
Oh, just Scott Luce, Aaron Janelle saw him, Ralph Pouliot saw him. I'm just trying to think if there's anybody else.
So Raf scouts in Eastern Canada, in Quebec.
Yeah.
How does he see him in Minnesota?
Well, what we did with Raf, and we've kind of evolved our scouting, and you just kind of evolve with how you utilize your people, is he has Quebec nailed down so good that we can take him and utilize him and cross-reference him. So we use him in high school and USHL, just certain games he goes to, and we've really had, we don't get Dilibatori without Raf. Same thing, because he had seen him and really liked him. So we utilize Raf, and then it was funny, we had him in the layer, and there's other guys from Raf's area. You can compare them against the other guys and have a discussion at the table. Who would you take, this guy or this guy? And
so you were happy, Bobby, that you were going to say there that he wasn't really in the mock drafts, right? He was kind of
he was an outlier. We call him an outlier, obscure guy or whatever, and we were happy with that. What happened is he took his state team, or his team, he plays at St. Thomas Thomas Academy, and they weren't anywhere on the radar to go to the state champion. And he told Hendy, he said, we're going to the state championship, and we're going to win it. And Hendy looked at him like, you're crazy. Like, this team isn't that good. So they actually were a 5th seed or something. They qualified as a 5th seed, and they knocked off everybody, Andover, who hadn't been beat all year. And he was the big driving force in that game. And we watched that game. It made you excited for the player. So now you're saying, okay, where do we take this guy? Where does he go on our list? But the novel thing about this year is he went back and played in the elite. He's playing the elite league. He played last night.
Yeah.
He's leading the elite league in scoring, and we just were worried that all of a sudden people are going to be on him. Eh? So when
someone because the draft is now instead of June. If in June you would have got him no problem, but someone could have seen him in the last 2 weeks and said, "Hey, we should grab this guy."
And might have been in that area where we would have moved back for him. But we
didn't want him to play too good early.
Well, exactly, and that's what was happening. And so we had him on our list, and we were really he was a guy we were really targeted for that pick, and we were pretty excited. Why
was it important, Bobby? You traded up about 49 picks to get a goaltender, to get Vikman. Why was that important for you guys?
Well, we had a great collaboration with Mike Rosati on putting our goalie list together, and we utilized Bruno Campese for that as well too. So they watched tons of video.
Bruno can do goalies as well.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, and Scotty's an old goalie too.
Oh yeah, sure.
The Buffalo goaler, we call him. So we got a song about that.
We tease Shane Knighty all the time that Scott's dad Don, the one big mistake he made in his career was drafting
Shane. We were talking about it on the way in here. But we had a really good collaboration. We met, Mike saw all these guys, and so did Bruno. They put reports together. We had a really good meeting on teams to put our list together. We went back through it again, and then you just formulate a strategy to hopefully get a goalie. And he was pretty high on our list. He's another guy that didn't have a lot of traction over there because he was the 3rd goalie on the national team, so he didn't get to play as much. But they really liked him in the video and watching him. He's 6'3", he's 188 pounds now. I think it was listed at 176. So, and they really liked his ability, his athletic ability, his size, how raw he is. And both of them were very high on this goalie. So we had a plan to try to get a pick so we could get him. Yeah. And we were really, and Krim really worked it to try to get him. And we traded a pick in 2022. I think a 4th round.
Yeah, you have multiple fourths in 2022.
And the other thing is we got time to get those picks back.
Yeah.
And we just, when you got somebody like that in this draft, you do the best you can to try to get them, because I think that's an important position for us moving forward. We just keep stocking the shelves, and we're really excited about this kid.
That must be when you come into a draft with the fewest number of picks you've had since you've been in Vegas. I don't know if maybe you had fewer in Ottawa over the years, but to have only 5 and then to walk out with 6 players and to get this jewel that you got in the 3rd and to get the goalie that you really wanted, plus like Brendan Brisson, let's go back to him. Let's talk about him. We just skipped the number 1 guy altogether.
I get actually, it's I always say the litmus test for picking a player in the first round is, how do you feel when you call his name? Yeah. And you're excited. Like, we were excited as a staff, really excited.
Specifically, what do you like about him?
Well, hockey sense. Yeah. He's got elite hockey sense. He just sees the game. If you watch video on him, we got to see him live lots and watch video on him. It's when I watched the video, it even affirmed more that we need to get a player like this. I was really excited because if you look, he extends plays. He's always a play ahead. Those guys are a play ahead. The really good players with their elite hockey sense, and you see it with guys like Mark Stone and guys that before they get the puck, they know where they're going with it. And he's one of those players. He can really shoot the puck too. He's got he's not just a playmaker. He's a shooter. And in the Junior A Challenge, he had 12 points, which is I think it tied a record for most points in a Junior A Challenge. And He just lit it up there. And then in Chicago, the second half, it's funny. There's other players to watch in Chicago for video, and when we were watching them, you couldn't help but watch him. You know, your eyes keep going to him. So it's I get really excited about this kid. And he's a tremendous kid too. He's been around the game, you know, with his dad. Like he's a hockey player. Like
so this is the thing that excites me about him, having never seen him play. His father is arguably the #1 agent in the National Hockey League. Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane, Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon. You know, those are pretty good clients, and they have an incredible home, I'm sure, in the Los Angeles area. At 14 years old, he says, "I want to go to northern Minnesota and get better at hockey." And you know, 14, big decision to leave mom and dad, but also when you got a really good setup, and he goes, like, to me, it says he wants to be a pro.
Well, and he wasn't.
Is that what you thought I was going to say?
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Because he wasn't a star there either in Shattuck. He was a good player as an underage. He's a late birthday, but you wouldn't have said going in, like some of those guys, you see him as underage, you go, "Oh, that's a first-round pick the next year." Well, you wouldn't have said that about him then, but he just gets better and better and better, and. You know, it's exciting because I still think he's got lots of runway left. And, you know, he needs to work on his skating, but that's not going to hold him back from playing in the NHL. I think it can only, you know, help him if he can get a little bit quicker. But his game is predicated on hands and head. And
Mark Stone's another one of those guys that wasn't a great skater, right?
Yeah, and they'll get better. Our development, you know, here's the other thing. This kid invests in himself to get better. So we can help him get better with our development.
How much of an argument? Sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
No, okay.
How much of an argument did you have to make to draft Mark Stone in the 6th round in Ottawa?
It was funny. It was in the LA draft, and you said you don't have any picks. We had 4 picks.
Oh, really?
And he's the only guy that turned out in that draft. Like we went, but we're in the 6th round, and at the table they just said, "Does anybody have a big CHL forward they'd like to draft?" They wanted a guy out of the CHL, and I said, "Well, I got a guy." I said, "I got Mark Stone from Brandon." And then they asked me about him, and I said, but let's be honest, we're in the 6th round, so what I thought he was going to be, I really liked his hockey sense, and I really liked his hands and his stick. I thought that if you're drafting a guy in the 6th round, I thought his potential was to be a 4th-line penalty killer if he made it to the NHL. And it's funny, I said he's not a good skater, he's not pretty, but I said it's substance over style for him. So it's funny, his first
what did they say when you asked? Did they
I
argue
just said
at all?
no. Nobody else said anything.
So
we didn't have an argument. He trusted me.
Brian Murray trusted you.
Yeah. So he you know, we had drafted Zach Smith I think the year before in the 3rd round as a 19-year-old that had gone through 2 drafts, and I was the guy that kind of pushed that forward, and I think I had a little bit of cachet to say, but it's 6th round, you know, so you're taking a swing. But I just wanted to say about Mark is the first rookie tournament he's at, I think he played the first game. The second game he got benched, and the third game he got sat out. So you're like, whoa. But he goes back, and by the next rookie tournament, he's the best player in the rookie tournament. Made the World Junior team. Did it? You know, he just got better and better and better.
He exceeded your expectations as a 4th-line penalty killer.
Yeah, a little bit,
to say the least.
But he worked on his game. You know, he's got stuff you can't teach. I see a lot of that same thing in the Brisson kids.
Awesome. Hey, last one for you, Bobby. So the strange time we're living in. How did everything being put on pause like it was affect how you guys do what you do?
Well, it's going to affect us going forward here. We just met today to turn the page and start 21. But this past year, we had enough of viewings. We were into March. You really would have liked to seen playoffs. You really would have liked to seen the World Championships in the under-18. But we weren't able to do that, and everybody is in the same boat. So we got really good our hockey ops is second to none. Those guys are tremendous. And they just supported us, and we just said we're going to work on teams, we're going to work on video, we're going to meet. And we had very good meetings to put our list together. And then we call it a deeper dive. After we put our list together, we kind of usually we go to the combine and different things like that. But this we did. We had a really good process to meet the kids online and interview them. It wasn't perfect, but we were able to do that. So we almost stayed doing the same things in teams, like the same process. And then we did our deeper dive. We call it deeper dive, and that's the week before the draft. So what we did is we brought our list in June to where we were ready to draft. Because we said, what happens if the bubble doesn't work? And 3 weeks later, they're saying to us,
you need to be ready.
And we wanted to get it to a certain point, and then we had like another dive when we got back here. But we didn't. We had done most of the work previous to coming here. It was just tweaking a few things, doing mock drafts, just making sure our layers are there, our strategy, going through it and going over it. And we've been together a little bit here now, and we've got a really good process. We got tremendous people to work with. It's really exciting to work with those guys.
Bobby, thanks so much. Big week for your staff, and we appreciate your time very much.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Bob.
All right, Bob Lowe's, the Assistant Director of Player Personnel for the Golden Knights, joining us here. Our coverage continuing from Rock Creek Cattle Company in Montana. One final segment. We'll take a look around the NHL and with free agency starting tomorrow. We'll get into that a little bit more on Fox Sports Las Vegas. $12.50 in Vegas, and we appreciate you tuning in on all of our social media streams, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube, and also, of course, on the radio home for the Golden Knights, Fox Sports Las Vegas. Our coverage brought to you by Juice Standard as an official juicery partner of the Vegas Golden Knights. The Juice Standard is making nutritious delicious every step of the way. Head to one of their 4 convenient locations today or visit them online at juicestandard.com. Dave and Gary with you. what a chat we had with Bobby Lowe's. I enjoyed that immensely.
Yeah, well, I've been fortunate to spend some time with Bobby over the years, and highly respected guy in Western Canada. I don't know if for some of our listeners, I don't know if you know this. So Kelly McCrimmon was the owner of the Brandon Wheat Kings, and for a long time, Kelly was the owner and the general manager. At times, he was the owner, general manager, and coach. But for 9 years, Bobby Lowe's, who is, quite likely Kelly McCrimmon's best friend, was his coach, and fired him. He also fired Mike Kelly, who was an assistant coach with the Golden Knights. Anyways, Bobby is one of those hockey guys that if you ever get a chance to, I like talking to him after a game, after he comes watch a game in Vegas, and his observations are, to me, he says deeper dive. Well, he watches a hockey game live, and it's a deeper dive. The stuff that he gleans from watching one game, it's like Mark Stone when the Golden Knights acquired him. After his first game, he was pretty good in that first game. Kelly McCrimmon said to me, "Watch him. Wait till you've watched him 5 games in a row before you really kind of." And sure enough, like it was a growing appreciation for Mark Stone. Every time you saw him play, there was another wrinkle in his game. So really cool stuff. Justin Williams, captain of maybe he wasn't captain this year. He was captain previously of the Carolina Hurricanes, has just retired in the last few minutes. Put out a notice on social media and has called it a career. He is from Cobourg, Ontario, which is just down the road from Peterborough, Ontario, where I'm from. Chris Johnson is also from a frequent guest of ours here, and one of the best hockey reporters in the business. He's from Cobourg, so none of that really has any relativity to what we're doing here right now, but all things that come to my mind. So Justin, great player, Stanley Cup champion, and an absolutely incredible guy.
3 cups? I was just trying to look it up on the fly. So with
Carolina when he was real young, and then
2 with the
Kings.
In
LA.
Yeah, 2 with the Kings.
Yeah.
And, and I don't know if he was ever crazy about the nickname Mr. Game 7. I think at times he got a little bit annoyed with it, but if the shoes fit, buy several pair. He was just phenomenal when you pushed all your chips in. He was as good as they got in terms of being such a clutch performer. But Justin Williams announcing his retirement. He had kind of over the even last year, right, Gary, before it took him time to kind of come back to go to Carolina. He ended up only playing 20 games with Carolina, but had 8 goals and 11 points in the 20 games he played with the Hurricanes last year, then came back, was part of the team in the resumption of play into the postseason as well. But a terrific career coming to a close here today for Justin Williams.
Well, in order to have fun in the NHL, you have to have fun in the offseason. By that, I mean you have to enjoy the training and the preparation to play a season. So you're Justin Williams, you got, 40, 50 million bucks earned in your career. You've won 3 Stanley Cups. You don't know when the season's going to start. You've got a young family. Probably tough to drag your how old is he, 37?
30, actually he's 39.
There you go.
39 earlier this week.
Yeah, probably tough to drag the 39-year-old body into the gym. Not as hard as it is to haul the 50-year-old body that you have, Dave. But I saw you sneaking out of the cabin this morning at the crack of 8:30 for
got it done
for a little bit of a jog, etc.
Jog down to the gym, and then a wonderful facility here at Rock Creek.
It's really nice, I'm told.
Got a decent. The rumor is it's terrific. I can vouch for it. It was a great facility, and then a little jog. It is, you know this because we have our little golf carts we can zip around on. It is uphill on the way back, so that was a little bit more rigorous.
Yes.
But Justin Williams, just to kind of finish the point there, Gary, 15 points in his Game 7s in his career, the most of any player in the history of the game. Tied for the most goals with Glenn Anderson. Had 7 goals, 8 assists, 15 total points in Game 7s in his career. This is going to be fascinating. So a lot of things percolating with unrestricted free agency kicking in tomorrow. The big names that are out there: Alex Pietrangelo, Torrey Krug in terms of defensemen, Taylor Hall, a former league MVP. You ran down a lengthy list of goaltenders that are going to be out there as well, including the announcement today that Corey Crawford will not re-sign with Chicago. Great 13-year career, had a terrific playoff just recently against the Golden Knights, two-time Cup winner. And he was saying he and Stan Bowman, their GM, they had an emotional conversation that they were gonna part ways. But he is on that long list of quality goaltenders that are going to be on the market starting tomorrow.
Yeah, it'll be the next the next few hours will be very interesting. You've got, I would have to believe that at some time today, Doug Armstrong says, okay, I gotta try it one more time. Picks up the phone, calls Alex Petrangelo or his agent, or maybe he calls Alex and says, is there a way for us to do this? We've exchanged proposals. What do you really need to stay on here as the captain of the St. Louis Blues? Or maybe Doug Armstrong's made the decision that it's not going to happen, and he's going to go another direction. TJ Brody is destined to be an unrestricted free agent. I'm told that the Calgary Flames have re-engaged with him and are making one more crack at trying to keep him.
We'll have it all covered for you tomorrow. One final nighttime at noon from Rock Creek here in Deer Lodge, Montana. My thanks to Garrett Calloway and to Jared Justice, Sage Salmons as well. There's going to be a whole crew that we'll throw thank yous out for tomorrow. But this has been a lot of fun for us.
30.
So, yeah, as things get percolating, by the time we come on air tomorrow, they'll already, business will already be cooking along in the NHL.
Well, it'll be 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the East, so there will be some names off the board.
Yeah, for sure. So we look forward to that. And thank you for tuning in on all of our social media channels visually and, of course, on your radio home for the Golden Knights. Fox Sports Las Vegas. We'll talk to you tomorrow one final time from Rock Creek Cattle Company.
Down